Hey everybody, Jabman025 here. The big project is officially done, so we're going to have a look at it here in this video. The second part of the video, I'm going to be talking about some weathering and battle damage effects I've done, along with a little bit of tweaking and add-ons I've done to the diorama itself. Pretty much all of these techniques I've learned from other modelers, either on YouTube, there's modelers I've met in person, different techniques I've read about. And considering most of them I've learned from other modelers, it's only fair that I share them so you get to learn them too. So we're going to have a look at it and see what we got here. This has been, like the name says, a big project. I've been working on this for a little over 1 month now. So this has been a bit of a odyssey in building this thing. So let's have a look at it and see what we got.
Okay, we're going to start off looking at the GM. Now the first thing I did to the GM was put some slices in it, put some bullet holes in it, put some gash marks in it, especially there on the hip, and just put a little bit of battle damage on this. GM, I didn't want to have too much battle damage. You see the backside, the legs, not a whole lot. Shoulders, little neck here, little neck there. Nothing too massive destruction. Now, how I did it, the bullet holes, the first thing I did was got a candle. Light that candle, you take a paper clip, straighten out one end, heat up that paper clip, and poke it into the kit, and that creates a bullet hole effect. The bigger the paper clip, the bigger the bullet hole. If you want a gash mark, you heat up an entire end and then lay the entire end on the kit. File is used for making cuts, scrapes, roughing up some areas, especially for painting later. All sorts of hobby files can do that. A hobby saw to literally cut chunks out of the shield, which I did here. Got the hobby saw for Christmas. What can I say? My family knows me. After that, you add some paint, or I did. And the first thing I did was add an entire layer of paint of smoke from Tamiya. This is a very nice paint that adds a nice grimy, smoky color. And I pretty much painted the entire thing head to toe in that. For the gash marks, the cuts, the scrapes, and some of the battle damage, some titanium silver. That kind of gives the effect that it's cutting into metal as opposed to plastic. Again, with the bullet holes, where the bullets hit, add some more silver. And on top of the smoke, add even more grime and grit and nastiness. Especially since this is a earth-based kit, or at least that's what I'm using it for. Add a lot of mud and dirt texture, and I use these on the diorama as well. Some flat earth and some natto brown that give a really nice mud/dirt texture, and just adds more grime and grit. If you don't want to get the paints too heavy, an easy way to get rid of some of the excess is just brush some off on a paper towel. And I also use some Gundam markers, weathering markers. It helps blend in and get rid of some of the bad brush stroke effects. And to use these Gundam markers, all you really have to do is literally just draw on the kit, take a Q-tip, and just rub that marking around. It kind of blends it together, especially with paints. It makes it look a lot nicer. And it gives a really nice effect, and it, like I said, it gets rid of those brush strokes when you use a paintbrush. Now, I also used another technique that adds like a paint chip effect. And what I did here is use some gunmetal or some silver, and sometimes both in certain spots, and I paint that onto a little section of a sponge and then just press that into the kit, and it gives a nice paint chip effect. Strike 03X taught me that little technique, which it really looks nice, especially on the shield there and on the parts of the legs. Gives it a more weathered look. And here it is after pretty much everything is done. Now, anytime you use a paint job, a custom paint job, it's always a good idea to seal it, but anytime you're doing a weathering or battle damage, seal it with a matte finish. Kills any gloss, except for like on the silver where you want a little shine, but this is a nice sealant for any kind of battle damage or weathering technique. So always use a matte finish on that. As for the Zaku, did basically the same thing. I did a little bit more battle damage on this one just because in this diorama I want it pretty obvious that the Zaku's gonna lose. I cut off some of the spikes on the shoulder. I lit the shield on one arm on the bottom on fire a little bit and melted part of it. Just overall more gashes, more cuts, more slices. Cut into it with a saw a few more places. Again, with the top coat of smoke, gives a really nice grime effect for the entire kit. You do have to use a little bit more on these darker kits. You see the Zaku is a little darker, and I really went to town with some natto black on the arm because I wanted to give the effect that the arm has been burnt and heavily damaged because the gun blew up in his hand, which is why he threw it away. I want to do a little bit more melting on the arm, but I was afraid it would lock in place, so I didn't do too much. But I wanted overall more battle damage, more, rougher looking. Just look like a Zaku that's at the end of its rope. Really went to town on the shield there with natto black, some browns. Really beat it up. And you can see, using all that paint, it makes it really, really glossy. So after you've blended it together with those weathering, make sure you give it a nice, heavy, thick coat from the matte spray. But like I said, those Gundam markers really do a really good job of blending all those paints together and keeping things more uniform. And here you see it pretty much finished. I did give it a second coat of the matte. Like I said, whenever you're using a dark coat, you have to use a dark color kit. You have to use more paints. More paints means more gloss, so you might have to use a little bit more finish. I really went to town with the silver, maybe a little overkill, but I liked it that way. Just, I want this Zaku to look beat to you-know-what. That pretty much takes care of the two model kits. Now back to the diorama. I decided to add a border to the diorama. That is just a wood border. Got it from a hardware store. The way I connected it, I just measured it out beforehand and then thumbtacked the original base into it. My original plan was to have it look a little bit more like this on the original base, but that grass mat has a hard time making a sharp right angle. It does curves a lot better, but the sharp right angle a little tougher. And the border just makes it a little bit more classy, as Tool for Toys told me. And it just looks a little bit nicer. And here you see it with the Zaku and GM all planted and in their pose. And I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it. For my first attempt at a diorama, I think it turned out pretty good, like I said before. I do kind of like the story I've kind of set up. I hope you guys can tell what it is. The Zaku's out of weapons. It's lost his machine gun. Here's the flip side. He's got nothing left, and being a Zaku pilot, he's going to pull out his axe and he's going to charge at the GM holding a gun, knowing he's got no shot. Smart man would realize, okay, I've got no weapons left, I might as well surrender. But a loyal Zeon soldier fights to the last man, even if it means certain death, which in this Zaku's case is going to be coming up here shortly. Now, one last thing I had to do to this project. Anyone who has Gundam model kits knows they are a pain in the butt to clean. When you have a diorama, you got a whole nother problem. When you clean the Gundam model kits, it's always difficult and a pain in the butt to do, but the diorama, you're just not going to clean. As good as the glue is, it doesn't hold everything down perfectly, it just holds it in place. And if I tried to clean this, I'd end up with a complete disaster. So I built a plexiglass case for it. Again, went to the hardware store, measured everything out beforehand, and I made this case. Had to let it dry over a couple of days. But I think it looks kind of nice. Used this amazing goop to hold it all together. Like I said, it takes a long time to dry, but it looks really nice. The plexiglass case isn't perfect, but it gets the job done. Looks nice and keeps the kit clean, which is really what I bought it for. There is one thing I'm missing on this kit, and that's a title. It has a custom piece, an original piece of work, and it's traditional to give a diorama a title. I have a few ideas, but I want to hear what you guys think. I need some more ideas for titles. Let me know what you guys think would be a good title for this, and maybe I'll come up with a good one. Final thoughts on this kit, or this project. I'm glad I did it. I've always wanted to try a diorama. I'm glad I've done it. And it was a whole lot of work, and I'm very proud of it. I will say, at different points during this project, I was Really wishing it would be over because it's a big, long, and very intensive amount of work, but I'm very proud of the results and I think it turned out pretty good. I don't know if I'll do a diorama in the future, but it won't be anytime soon if I do. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you got any questions, comments, please leave them. You guys know I love reading them. Don't forget to leave me an idea for a title. Still thinking about titles for this piece. Stay tuned for more reviews. I'm going to be starting up the reviews here again shortly, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and one more thing.
Well, it's finished now, guys. Not bad, huh? One of my biggest projects of all time. Now, where am I going to put it?